All right. Hello.
Hi.
My name is Andre Timmons, and your name will be.
And Timmons-Datta.
Aha. Well, I have a few questions for you. I already introduced myself. You already introduced yourself. My mom. So, first question: what is your current job slash position, and how long have you been in this role?
I am a registered nurse in a NICU, and I have been in that role since 2015.
Nice. Awesome. And how did you, per se, land this position? And would you describe your career to this current job?
When I was doing my clinical rotations in nursing school, I was very involved during the rotations there. I made sure that the other nurses saw that I wanted to do the job and um, showed myself as a good learner and showed them my skill set. So when I left, they kind of already knew my name. I had spoke to the manager and the director, and also my teacher after my clinical instructor. And when I passed my NCLEX and got my license number, I notified the manager. I had actually already applied for the position when I finished nursing school before I had my license, and interviewed prior to getting my license because I was waiting to take the boards. And then as soon as I got my license number, they offered me a job.
Nice. Straight off the get go. And another question: what do you enjoy most about your job, and what do you like least about your job?
Um, honest.
Honest,
Okay.
yes.
What I like the most about my job is watching the babies heal and be able to go home with their families. Um, that right there is the most rewarding part of being in the NICU, because you can take a baby that's like a pound and you send it home at 5 6 pounds and healthy, from being on the ventilator and needing all kinds of support, to a healthy baby that goes home and thrives to become a adult someday. Um, the least favorite part of my job is dealing with a lot of seeing the babies that are born addicted to opioids suffer, and then dealing with, and I'm being honest, dealing with having to place them back with their families when you know that it's not a good place for the baby, because that's what the state of Florida DCF has decided. That's the hardest part of my job. It's a moral issue for me, and it's very difficult to know that there's a good chance that that baby's not going to be taken care of because their parents are so strung out on drugs, that their child's not a priority, but we don't have a choice in most cases.
Yeah, I definitely see the conflict. But if you didn't care, it'd be
Right.
like, why?
Exactly. And it's true. It's really hard. That's why I work nights, because I don't usually discharge the babies. The day shift nurses have to deal with discharging them. I kind of like know they're going home, and then I snuggle them the night before, and then pray for the best for them.
No, and that's all we can do.
Yeah.
And also, would you say that you work in a team or independent environment? And how does this style impact your working?
Um, Anything in healthcare, for it to be successful and have a good outcome, is team based. If you're not a team player, healthcare is not the place to be, because we need all the positions that are there, from the physicians, the nurses, down to housekeeping, dietary. We all work together as a team. Um, and because of that, I want to say that we can offer the best care available to the patient. Yeah, there's conflicts and this and that, but you have to just stay professional and about
Yeah,
knowing your position, knowing when not to overstep boundaries. But that's why we have a lot of we have like practice counsel, and places like that to discuss if something comes up where we're or something like that, obviously the physician is in charge. So we have to go with what he says. I mean, unless it's like totally like gonna hurt the patient, but I've never been in that situation, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I would address that to my charge nurse, but and deal with that. We use it to learn and everything after. So.
All right. Well, question for me. So pretty much, I was just wondering, like, it's a team oriented practice, working in health field in general, and of course, because like not everyone you can't do it by yourself. You only have two hands, and it takes a lot more than that. But my biggest question was, I know everyone has their individualistic study they take to get to the position that they're in to work in that field, but per se, how everyone has to take their own responsibility and have their own strengths and to contribute to the team in the whole, like a holistic point.
Yeah.
And I was just saying, do you like, which would you say was more important? Like, honestly, like,
they have to go hand in hand in healthcare, because if you want to have a strong nurse, because this nurse is the one that's pretty much providing most of the care, but is the eyes and ears for the physician, because a lot of times the physician's not there all the time. But if you don't have a strong doctor, or if you don't have a knowledgeable physician, there's an issue, because they don't know what to do, and he or she is who we go to for orders, for treatment plans, for I don't know what's going on. They're the ones that did the advanced studies. They went on to school. Now, a lot of nurses that have been doing it for a long time. I mean, and you have a newer physician. A newer physician, the best thing they can ever do is be good to their nurses and be good to their ancillary staff, because some of those nurses that have been in NICUs for like 40 years, I know a nurse is 44-year nurse, and she would help some of the doctors, remember stuff, because, or see things in the patient. So it's super important to have both of you strong, but we all have to learn that position. So when you come right out of school, you're not as good as a physician that's seen it and done it, right? Or no, seriously, and the thing is, in healthcare, especially the ones that do direct patient care, we have to continuously educate ourselves. We have to continuously be up on the new practices and stuff. And if we see a good idea, that's why it's so important that we work together. Because maybe I went to a conference and I saw something that you didn't know because you were at a different conference, or I see something like, say we have a bunch of babies with this particular issue, and the physician has a lot of responsibility. We do too, but ultimately the physician, is responsible, and what he or she says goes. So it's important for us to support them if we see something, and a good physician will acknowledge what or even a manager or director will acknowledge what our input and will consider it. Best thing I can say with the physicians I work with is they've been at all children's for years. So what will happen is I'll be like, hey, Dr. Jermaine, I saw this, and this. And if he's like, oh yeah, good catch, and then he'll explain to me this, or he'll say, oh, we're not going to do this, and he'll explain to me his rationale, which makes me understand why, okay, yeah, I was right at a point, but it's not right for this situation. So it's just important that the clinicians are good and have a strong skill set. So if this is something is not what you want to do, you're not going to continuously try to educate yourself and improve. This is something that we do tons of continuing education. We do, there's tons of conferences available, and it's not a burden, because continuing education helps you with your patient care. And generally helps the outcome. So
have to always improve.
Yes, and you do, and we all try to help each other.
All right. And last question of this interview. So, what advice do you have for students who are interested in pursuing this career, or any career medical field wise?
Any career, I would say, do as good as you possibly can in school. Take classes that will help you in your program that you're going into. Like don't waste electives on bowling. do the things that are healthcare related, and put 100% into it. You get out of it what you put into it. So if you really, nursing is competitive. The physician, becoming a doctor, medical school is competitive. It's important you get good grades. It's pertinent that you try your best and learn as much. Yeah, we don't use all the stuff we learn in the beginning, but that's a stepstone and a building block for us to understand, further parts. It's so important to be in healthcare as a hands-on provider to understand, pathophysiology. It's so important to understand the body's response to these things. So we really need to work hard and don't get discouraged if you apply for the NICU job or whatever right out of school and you don't get it. It's a specialty department. A lot of people aren't fortunate enough to go right into a specialty department, especially nursing. Most of them have to go into like a STAR RN program or go into med-surg nursing at first. Because of my previous background in critical care as paramedic and, things I did with transport and critical, all those certifications I had helped me get into the NICU because I had a background with caring for critically ill infants. Not everybody has that, but there are options. So it's like, don't get discouraged if you don't get that job right away. Just keep trying, keep improving yourself, find what classes you need to boost that resume. You know what I mean? Like they're gonna want, if you have all these certifications behind your name, even if you're a new nurse, you'd be like, oh well, they have that knowledge background. So that's what I was saying. Just keep work your hard as you can and you'll be successful if that's what you want to do and your heart's really there.
Passion for
if you do, it's so important to not just be able to take a test and pass. It's important to be able to retain that knowledge and use it towards your position. It's why we have some crappy nurses and crappy physicians because they're just good test takers. I don't want one of those taking care of me or my family.
Well, thank you so much for your time and all of your thoughts you have towards this. It definitely changed and strengthened my views at some point, stuff that I didn't know. And it gives me a big thing with me is just knowing the steps, like just seeing what I have in front of me and not being surprised by like the process, more than not just the education, because you should be surprised by the education because you don't know everything, but the process of getting there, you know what I mean? And like just knowing what you have to do so you can have a role, not get like overwhelmed or anything like that, which I'm good with not getting overwhelmed.
And there's times you're gonna be overwhelmed, but your team supports you. So that's what you need to remember is you're not the Lone Ranger. Now, where you're going in the future, you are going to be the go-to person eventually. But like I said, just remember, well, I'm not worried about it because your mom's a nurse, but just always remember to be good to the nurses because those nurses can make or break you. They see things and notice things that, the physicians sometimes just miss, especially in assessments. You got 12 patients that you have to look after, and to keep them all straight.
Like a hands-on coach who plays a little bit, but you guys are the players at the end of the day.
And they, but the doctors do a lot of the critical interventions, so, and with the assistance, the nurse is always there by his side or her side, so, but and sorry, I can't tell you about the steps going to medical school. I don't know that, but I will help you with that. We will learn it together.
We'll be good.
Sorry about my parents. I just had surgery last week.
Oh my! What a successful surgery.
Good anesthesiologist, a good surgeon.
Well, thank you, Mom.
You're welcome.
Love you.
Love you too.